And here we go. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I'm glad that you've joined me this morning. It's a beautiful day out today. I don't see any clouds in the sky at all, but that could change any moment. That's how South Carolina is. You just never know when those clouds are going to roll in. Well, I tell you, I was looking at all my content the place where I get my content. And the number one story, it seems like, is China and their manufacturing going way down. Their exports going way down. And if you don't think that affects the United States, yeah, it does. Because that kind of tells us that worldwide, there is a slowdown in purchasing from consumers. And so we have to look at that very carefully. But that was the number one headline that I see constantly and where I collect my content from, is that there's a big concern at the moment of the economy that's in China. Even though China says this and that they're doing great, but they're not. That's the problem. Even internally, the Chinese people have cut down on their spending. So the economy is falling down at the moment. Stumbling is another good way of saying it. But we are looking at the economy of China and how it affects us, and it does, because remember, a lot of our goods come from China. And so when we see that slow down, that means that we have slowed down in our purchasing here in the United States. Retailers have stopped buying from China. And what does that do? Well, when there's less business in the United States, that means that there are more layoffs. And we will see more layoffs coming as history goes forward in the next few months. I was a little bit concerned because one of the things that I have always fought for was religious freedom. Constitutionally, each and every single one of us are protected by religious freedom. Even though you don't believe in the other person's point of view, but if his point of view is religiously bound, and that's where his foundation is, the Constitution protects him. So there was a situation where a stewardess with Southwest Airlines posted on her Instagram that she was against abortion because of religious reasons. Southwest fired her because of that. Well, the federal judge in Texas reinstated her into her job and then sent the 3 attorneys from Southwest to a school to teach them about religious freedom. In fact, the headline goes, "Federal Judge orders Southwest Airlines attorneys to attend religious liberty training." And of course, they're taking it from a conservative group, because it's probably the only people who teach that. Religious liberty is very important. I first knew about religious liberty as a very young child. I've talked to you about this before on my podcast. But when I was young, my dad worked for an oil company. And he was in charge of transportation from the oil wells up in Alaska down to the oil refinery in Seattle. So he was in charge of all the boats and all of the trucks and everything else that transported all that oil down to be refined and turned into gasoline. And then Time Oil also had a gasoline station business that they provided their gasoline to. My father's Sabbath was Saturday. And that's the day that he went to church, and that's the day he worshipped his God under religious liberty. Unfortunately, the unions took a different look at it. And they said, no, you have got to work on Saturday. We demand that you work on Saturday. Luckily, the church that my father was a member of had a religious liberty department that protected employees like that their Sabbath or their religious views would not be stepped upon by business or by any other entity. So they went to court, and my father won. and he was able to keep his Sabbath. So we're seeing more of that even in today's life. We're seeing religious beliefs. Even believing in abortion is a religious belief, depending on which church that you belong to or which Christian belief that you belong to. I was listening to a Catholic priest on Instagram yesterday, and it was an interview between two priests. And one of the priests said, what happens is that the church says love, love, love. Forgive, 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 love, love, love. And the other priest said, you know what? We, as a church, we're supposed to love, but we also have to challenge the issues if it affects your religious beliefs. You have to say something. You have to do something. So we are seeing more and more times that religious liberty is being stepped on, challenged by the believers, I should say. Those that don't believe in God say, everybody has to do what we say. God doesn't matter. Your religious beliefs don't matter. So we're seeing that every single day, something popping up into that belief realm where religious liberty is being threatened. It's being threatened by politicians. It's being threatened by unions. It's being threatened by various organizations, liberal organizations. We're seeing that happen every single day. And we need to stand up and challenge it. I have noticed over the past few years, Americans have become followers and not doers. They become followers and not leaders. They have become sheep and are led very easily. We saw it during the pandemic, all of us. We were all led. We were all duped into shutting down everything, closing down everything, destroying our lives, destroying our families, destroying our schools, destroying our businesses. We destroyed a lot because we followed and we didn't challenge. And then when we did challenge, we were scorned. We were put down. We were threatened with legal action. Some were even put in jail. But see, the freedom of speech says we can challenge. We can use our speech to challenge. And if there's a religious liberty issue, we need to challenge it. Doesn't mean that we hate them. Doesn't mean that we don't love them. No, that doesn't matter. Because we all, if we're Christians, we already have that mentality that we will love everybody. But we also should have the mentality that if it is wrong, if it is immoral, if it is unethical, if it is against your religious beliefs, stand up, fight for it, challenge it. Because that's why you have those liberties there. And if you are just going to be sheep, you're going to lose those liberties very quickly. They're going to go away. They're going to disappear. Because you said nothing. And you see this more and more. Especially in America. Gosh, we used to have people that would stand up and fight against things. Remember the Vietnam War? That was a bad war. But people stood up and they fought against it. They said, this is wrong. We don't want it. Now we have this Ukrainian war and people just don't pay attention to it. They don't say anything. They just let it happen. Billions are spent. Thousands of people have died. We don't have an issue with Russia. We don't have we're not on the border of Ukraine and Russia. It's not our border. But yet we have spent billions on a war that's a corrupt war that we should never have been in. But yet, you see no one protesting. You see no one speaking out against it. If you do, you're put down. But remember, you have that freedom of speech and you can speak out. If you don't agree with that Ukraine war, speak out. If you don't agree with abortion, speak out. If you don't agree with higher taxes, speak out. If you don't agree with many things that affect your life, have the courage to speak out. You have that ability. If things are affecting your business, if the city is coming down on you, speak out. Challenge them. It's not against the law to challenge them. They may make it appear that it's against the law, but it's not. You are protected constitutionally to speak out. I remember when it happened to my dad and mom, they were upset. They didn't know what they were going to do. Was that going to be the end of his job in the oil business? Was that going to be the end of money coming into the family? That was the question, because they were being attacked based upon their religion. They won the case, and my dad kept his job and worked there for many, many years. But it was that threat where he felt that he had to stand his ground. Constitutionally, he had religious freedom on his side. And they were able to work out differences. So if you own a business, listen, work out the differences. If they want to work a different hour or a different time to cover for their time off on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day they're taking, do it. If they believe in abortion, you don't attack them on their political beliefs. That's none of your business. So Southwest Airlines had to reinstate the stewardess, and the judge were very firm with those 3 attorneys who represented Southwest, and they now have to go to religious liberty training. Honestly, I think that everybody should go through religious liberty training. If you own a business, you should do it. Because it's important that you know that your political beliefs may differ from your employees' beliefs. You can't condemn them for what they think or how they believe. But you do have the responsibility under the Constitution to respect their religious beliefs. You may not like it. Too bad. The law is the law, and the Constitution is the foundation of our freedoms in this great nation of ours. And we fight it every single day. We have more and more issues that come up that attack our religious liberties. We're having it right now on speech, on what happened with Facebook, what happened with the government getting involved and trying to shut us down if we spoke out about the pandemic, about the pandemic or about anything that went against the government. They tried to shut people down. And now we're fighting back. Finally, we're fighting back. We should have fought back at the very beginning. When they started to shut down churches, which is the most needed place when you're going through a pandemic, when they shut down churches and when pastors shut down their churches trying to comply with government demands, they were wrong in doing so. Because God is a foundation of our faith and of our beliefs, of our health and everything else about us. And when government tried to shut that down, that's when they went too far. And I think that's when Americans said, okay, this is enough. This is enough. Listen, if you would like to have a business consultation or coaching with me, you can go to my website and schedule time online at www.lodge.co.com. And if you have a business question, send it to me. Send it to thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. Okay, everybody, go out there and have a great day. God bless. Love you guys. Bye-bye.